Hey guys, Brian here. Today I'm going to be giving you my impressions of Mech Idea's Gauntlet and Piston, which is a third-party Iron Fist and Misfire. He's just arrived on my doorstep, and the box is rather plain, and I'm okay with that. So let's crack these guys open and see how they are. Alright, so here's Gauntlet and Piston out of their boxes and repro labeled up with their appropriate symbols. Piston does indeed have one of these things that goes on top of them, but in order to differentiate the two, I actually take this off and just put it to the side. So I kind of dig these guys. The head is a bit thin to me. It really looks a little odd when viewed from the side. His posability is a little lackluster, and then the knee bend is rather low, and there's nothing for the feet, so that's where you need to put his feet, regardless of where he's standing. But he's stable enough that you don't have to do that, I guess. Actually, no, you kind of do. You can adjust his toe a bit, but I don't think that'll give you the ability to have him stand on one foot, really. So yeah, you have to have him basically in the A-stand, so that kind of sucks. But his posability is pretty decent. His head is on a ball joint, so he's got some good range of movement and can look very far up. His arms are pretty darn awesome. They've got a ball joint so they can go backwards a bit, and a, what do you call this, a spin disc or whatever? No. They got a joint there, it lets it go up and down easily. Ball jointed at the elbow and ball jointed wrist. Give it some posability in the arms. Now, on the arm, you do have a ball joint back here, and you can take the arm out and swap it around to give you some more room. In fact, I've done this on Piston here. So I'll show off how they look in vehicle mode and in robot mode, because there is a trade-off by switching the arms around, like I'll show you later. It's got a waist joint. The hips are on a ball joint, so they can go in and out all wherever you want. Thigh swivel. And warning, some people have had, there's been at least 2 cases on TFW of people breaking off this mushroom peg and the leg being broken, basically. Hasn't happened to mine. I don't see any stress marks on either of my guys, but it is something to at least pay attention to. On the back, he's got this thing that it can rotate around and is not too much in the way. So he looks pretty darn good as a representation of Iron Fist. In vehicle mode, they can roll. There's not too much undercarriage. Can't really see anything other than hands, really. So, hey, nothing visible underneath. From behind, nothing really visible. Looks good to me in the vehicle front. For some size comparisons, let's bring in Mech Idea's original molds, the Topspin and Twin Twist molds that they've made, and are awesome figures. So they stand, a couple heads higher than Iron Fist here, as they kind of should. So they look pretty good. In fact, let's just go ahead and start bringing in some more wreckers. We've got Perceptor, we've got Springer in the back, because he's the biggest, Cup, and a Guzzle, which is in desperate need of being replaced by something that isn't a movie figure. So I think he looks pretty good I think Iron Fist looks pretty good with the other wreckers. And I'm certainly glad to have it, especially with the Topspin and Twin Twist, because they were in the books together, or in Last Stand together. I'm rather pleased with them. So let's do some transformation now, shall we? So for transformation, we start off by taking this backpack and pulling it out a little bit. Then you flip these panels out from inside of it. Just got to get those out of the way. Then the head, you pull back. This entire yellow base piece is one piece that folds out. And you kind of have to use an excessive amount of force to pop it off, but it literally clips in on there pretty well. And then you just fold it back like that. And you rotate the front. And then for the arms, you rotate them so that the ball joint is facing down. And then you move it in, and you move it into the body, and you move the arm down. So to repeat that over here, you rotate it so that the ball joint is facing down. Then you rotate the arm so that the panel is facing outward, and then rotate the arm down all the way. And then you can kind of push those in. And then the hands you rotate so that they are folded under the body. Now the legs, you start off with the toe and rotate those guys in until they clip a little bit, or click a little bit. Then you can clip them together and rotate them together. And just gotta get that underneath the backpack, get the toes under the backpack. And then it's just a matter of lining up the grooves on the bottom of the leg with the grooves on the back of the backpack. But they slide in pretty easily. And then the kneecaps, former kneecaps, you shift those down and they just go onto the bottom of the leg and under the car. And then these panels on both sides just lock down and clip in pretty darn securely. Now you can see the difference between the official way the figure is and when you swap the arms around. So they don't line up perfectly now on Piston here, who has the arm swap gimmick, but it still looks pretty decent. And as I mentioned, the top piece here is a separate piece, so you can take it off and put it on easily. In fact, there's actually 3 pieces. You can take this piece off too. But in order to differentiate the pair of them, because now they're pretty darn similar, I just take it off and leave it to the side and throw Misfire's blasts on. Is this Misfire? I think this is Misfire. So for transforming Piston here, back to robot mode, you start off by opening these panels. You pull the backpack out a little bit, frees up the legs so you can pull those out, and they pretty much always come unclipped. And then you can flip the toes forward until they clip into place. Well, not clip into place, but get past the clip. And then you pull the arms out to the side and rotate the hood down. And then you can rotate the head panel up and clip it into where it's supposed to clip into. And again, that takes a little bit of force, and I'm actually apprehensive about. You then want to flip the side panels in flush against the backpack. And the backpack here is on a double hinge, so down here for vehicle mode, and then for robot mode, you've shifted up the top to get it out of the way of the legs. Then you just orient the arms correctly, and voila. Now, Piston here doesn't suffer from as much of a thin head as Gauntlet does, but he still suffers from it. This is what the arm things look like in robot mode. In fact, I'll go ahead and transform him real quickly. Alright, so here they are both in robot mode, and you can see the difference between the arms. Literally, all it is just you take this piece off, you'll pop it out of the ball joint here, not out of the shoulder, and then you pop this ball joint, well actually either ball joint off, at the arm, and then just swap this piece with this piece and put them back in, and then just put the ball joints back in. It's actually really simple. Popping ball joints off is pretty darn easy. I'm not going to do it on camera because it actually takes a little bit of effort, but it's not a difficult thing to do. You need a little bit of effort, but not a huge amount. And in robot mode, the added articulation you get is pretty good because he can get a pretty good degree of bend on his arm, whereas Iron Fist here can't. That's as far as he goes. So one other piece of articulation, at least on this Piston, one of his hands gets really loose. Like, they obviously painted the ball joints, and it's not an even paint, so when it gets to like here, his hand becomes really loose on mine, like floppily loose. It's pretty annoying. I'm probably going to put some floor polish in there to tighten these ball joints up. This hand isn't too bad, but it definitely is a little loose. So basically, that's my impressions of these guys. Again, these are repro labels, faction symbols, which you can get from reprolabels.com. And I always throw my faction symbols on my guys immediately, like, Topspin and Twin Twist automatically had their Autobot logos on them immediately. Overall, I'm rather pleased with these guys. I'm not blown away by them. I'm definitely glad to have them, and I'm given the production woes that happen with these guys, I'm really glad to have them. Not amazing designs to me. I wouldn't say run out and buy them. I would say I like them well enough that I'm glad I have them. So that's my opinion on them. What do you guys think about them? Do they look dumb? Do they look cool? How do you think they would look in your Ruckus display? So that's it for me. So thanks for watching, guys. If you have anything else you want to comment on, let me hear it. See ya.